I'm just going to go on. I'm not even going to try and do the buttons anymore. No one's watching, Mike. Nobody's watching. If it's Tuesday, I'm hitting the wrong button.
You should not be allowed to run the board by yourself.
And you're no help. I see you laughing backstage.
What am I supposed to do? Hit the button. That's all I can say.
I'm like, oh, let me hit the button, and then I hit the thing again. Anyway, Mike, it's been 2 weeks out, and I am out of practice.
Yes, apparently you are. But it's good to see you.
It's good to be seen. You know, that Ruth Morrison, she called herself the substitute teacher. She did a great job, didn't she?
Did. I enjoyed co-hosting with Ruth.
Yeah, she brings a lot to it. The substitute teacher, she brings a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and you held up your end. Apparently, I watched the shows. It looks like you showed up with some.
I showed up. I was here. I sat here and I was on screen. That's about all you can ask.
You were on screen. So yep, there you go, Mike Ponce. It's like Homer at the nuclear plant every time. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. And then Vince telling me that I'm hashtag button challenged, and then just the two of them, they're just going to have a conversation and chat together. So Mike, we have a special show tonight. No guests, because next week we will have a couple of guests, more than one. But tonight I thought we would get together and talk a little bit about summer convention planning. Convention planning, Mike.
There are lots of conventions coming up, so they need to be planned for.
That's me. Do you recognize me?
I do. When's that picture from?
I don't know, probably 40 pounds ago. 40 pounds ago. That's. Oh, and I missed you too, Mike Ponce. I feel like I can gauge time by how fat I am.
I can gauge time by how bald I am. So there you go.
We both have something. In fact, somebody had said that on average people gained 15 pounds during COVID, and I was like, I blew past that in the first wave. I mean, I am such an
the first week.
I'm like 15 pounds.
Amateurs.
You say that now, but later on that number will change.
It's like they weren't even trying.
I think people gained more than that, Mike.
Oh, I did. Yes, I put on a few pounds.
Did you?
I did. Yes, I put on at least 10, maybe 15.
So you're tipping the scales at like what, 118?
I went to the doctor and I was listed as overweight.
I went to the doctor and I was listed as one on the scale, one on the scale at a time, please.
We don't have a scale for you, but
we don't have a scale. We have like big thing. We use elephants. Although I will tell the viewers a funny thing about Mike. I miss you too, Mike Ponce, because no one else put a comment yet, so I just put that one back up there to keep them on their toes. Mike's dating profile, if I recall correctly, was you were bragging about being thin and flimsy.
Yes. Used to be.
How did that work out for you?
Not anymore. It was working out good for a while, but not anymore.
You were like, a lot of people are out there looking for thin and flimsy.
There you go.
I was listed as fat and happy. I was actually, it works for me, huh? Hey, fat and happy.
You look good.
Thanks, Mike, and you look good too. So again, great job, and thank you to Ruth. Ruth actually has her own show. Let's see if we can show Ruth's show. Let's see if we can do this. I'm going to share. I'm going to click the share. I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to share a window. I'm going to share.
Why don't you share that countdown timer again?
There you go. So we will be having, so Ruth will be doing Calm Nation tonight, Mike, right after our show.
Trivia.
She does trivia. So for the 2 weeks that she did, she filled in for comic book school. She played the role of Buddy. She did a show immediately after. So 9 p.m., right after our show, you go on over to Ruth's show. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I think it's great.
Yeah. Stop. So there you go. So we've got a couple things to cover tonight, but Mike, convention season is upon it. Oh, look at Ruth. Look at her.
Yeah, there's encouragement.
Ruth. There you go. See, I did it, Ruth. I did it. And there's Vince laughing again. I feel like it's between Mike and Vince laughing at me. And I thought they're not laughing with me. They're laughing at me.
Well, sometimes that's what you got to do.
That's all you got to do. So tonight, Mike, we're going to be talking about a topic that I feel is very important, and that is Summer conventions, how to plan a strategy, tips and tricks for creators. You notice that I didn't do my read-in tonight, Mike?
I did, because we had a
I
lot
didn't
of
write
that
it. I
countdown.
forgot.
Oh, you didn't write? You have it written.
I have it written, and I can't get it even when it's pre-written. Oh, see, Vince is nice. He's laughing with me, and he who laughs lasts. I don't. Oh, that comma
He who laughs last.
laughing near you. That's creepy. That's not creepy. That's not creepy. And Ruth will be on. She's very funny and does a very entertaining show on trivia. No, she'll be doing Ms. Marvel. There's like a movie or something coming out, isn't there?
TV show.
TV show.
Series.
Is there really?
Yes.
Disney Plus, right?
Disney Plus. I think it's Disney. Yeah. Marvel. Yeah.
I let my Disney Plus subscription lapse, and I've been watching Barry.
What? Why'd you let Disney Plus lapse? Although Barry, I've heard, is very good. I've only seen the first season.
Barry is brilliant, and so is this list, Mike. That's my transition. So
Okay, there
I'm
you go.
going to be giving 6 tips, Mike. 6 tips for summer con strategy. It looks like the logo is going directly over. Can you see that okay? It looks like it's going directly over Disney Plus. Yes, Marianne, thank you. It is Disney Plus. So, Mike, people go to Comic-Cons with the smallest amount of planning. And I think that one of the things that I've learned with comic book school over the years is that lack of planning leads to less than satisfactory outcomes. And what we're going to do is give 6 tips that you and I slaved over together. We worked really hard. We were, sharing the keyboard. You did vowels, I did consonants, and we wrote this list of 6. Am I right?
Yeah. All from we've been working on it since last year. Yeah.
I put this together 15 minutes ago. So anyway, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how creators, just like our friends on the show, if you're going to a big show, a mid-sized regional show, or even a small show, having a plan will help you have a better outcome. So do you want to see the first tip, Mike?
I would like to see that. Yes.
All right. The first tip, know what you want. I think so many people, Mike, are eager to become comic book professionals, but they really haven't thought it through. What do you want? Do you want to work in comics as an artist? Do you want to be working to keep the lights on in your house? Do you want to be working full-time with health benefits? Often people go to shows, they're just not prepared. If you want to be a writer and there's an editorial job available, is that the doorway in, or is that actually not what you want to be doing, but you end up accepting that job and doing a less than exceptional job at a role that doesn't interest you? What do you think, Mike?
That's interesting. I never really thought about knowing what you want, especially going to a comic convention.
Did you know what you want when you got into a car and drove cross country with the robot chicken guys?
I knew I had to keep driving. That's about all.
Yes.
Just keep going.
Try to keep up.
Follow the train. That's all it was.
All right. So the number one tip is know what you want. I think the key thing for people is if you know what you want and you're heading in the right direction, you can know if you are making the right decision. And I think that that's one of the first steps. Just really know who you are, what's important to you, where you want to end up, and then don't take any deviations from steps that don't get you there. So that brings us to number 2. Plan your time and path. So you've been to large shows. Have you ever been to San Diego, Mike?
I have a few times.
It's pretty overwhelming.
It is very intense. There's lots of people there.
Lots of people. New York, same thing. Lots of bodies, lots of breath, lots of people who should have worn deodorant. It's and sometimes the heat of the moment of that pressing of the bodies leads to people being agitated. But I think the key thing, though, is if you are interested in going for education, you can't go wrong with comic book school educational panels, right? You just
Clearly.
We've been doing this for a long time, and every breath, yes, Vince, people get close in that aisle there in the main thoroughfare. It's pretty bad. And I'm not just talking about me. I mean, it's other people as well. But I think what happens, Mike, is people go to the show without a plan. They open up the guide. They try to figure out what panels they want to go to, which pros they want to see, what publishers they want to talk to. They don't know when the signing lines are, and they don't know when the portfolio review lines are. And what they end up doing is having an inefficient experience. So by knowing what you want and planning your time and path is extremely important. So, for example, Mike, if you know that one publisher's booth is near another publisher's booth and it takes you 30 plus minutes to cross the floor near Comic Con, it might be beneficial for you to plan that in real time. Cuts bad farts the end of good. See, I don't read these when I click them. I just let them go through, and there Glenn got me, and that happened to me in 2012. Glenn is still scarred for all that, and it is pretty horrible, Glenn. We're sorry for that. That wasn't us. That was another.
It may have been.
Maybe it was. But I think, Mike, the key thing is knowing proximity of where you want to be, particularly if you have to get online for a portfolio review. Am I right?
Yes, you definitely have to plan out your strategy. Make everything like if you want to go to comic book school, you got to know where it is and when it is, and then you got to like that's your main one. Then you got to plan all the others around it, so you hit that one and get as many other ones as you can.
I think that's really important. So, knowing what you want, like why you're here, plan your time and path, and then number 3 and 4 just
Oh
came up
no!
together. So we'll
Oh,
just do them together. So I'm going to do these two together, not because I intended to, but because I probably just didn't upload the slides right.
you hit the button
And
twice.
see that? Talk about word balloons. Yeah, I messed that one up. Anyway, I think here we're going to do first one. So prepare your work. All right, Mike. How many times have I stood online waiting to see somebody get their portfolio reviewed and their portfolio is not ready? They are literally said, "Oh, I drew this while I was on the line." And nobody cares. Nobody cares that you sketched this on the line or, "Oh, here, this isn't my best stuff." They're not prepared, right? You
Yeah,
have about a minute to knock somebody out with your professionalism.
you should be
And then
there.
after that, it's time to move on.
Yeah, you should definitely be there with all your stuff ready to go and your best work, not just here's what I could do.
Right. And if it's in your portfolio and you have to flip around, be prepared. Have the pages tabbed. Know what you're showing that editor by knowing what they publish. If you're showing a superhero book to an indie publisher that does slice of life comics, you may not be in the right place. And being unprepared is probably like a bad strategy, but it's a worse strategy when you have limited time and they have limited time, and you could have been using that time to do something else.
They weren't prepared for the entire trip.
They weren't. So again, so prepare your work, and I would also say shop in advance. I was having a conversation prior to the show with Marianne, and I know that she's on because she made a comment just earlier. If you are setting up a table in Artist Alley, if you are building a booth, if you are just walking around at the show, shop in advance. Go out and buy that portfolio folder so that your original art is protected. If you are tabling at a booth in Artist Alley, go buy that banner behind you. Buy a tablecloth that goes in front of your table. Go there. See, Marianne is here, and she talks about branding and marketing like nobody's business. And it really is nobody's business. But
She knows what she's talking about.
she knows what she's talking about. But I think the key thing is when you're going there, if you're going to an event and you're not prepared and you look next to you and you see this person with this beautiful display and this layout, compared to them, their booth will look so much more professional and attractive to you, to the person walking by, that you just look, by comparison, unprofessional.
Look like a schmo.
Like a schmo. What
Schmo.
exactly is a schmo, Mike?
Hey, it's a schmo. It's one of those things. You don't want to
I,
look
you know,
like a
I never
schmo.
really knew what's the translation of schmo. Like
Schmo.
a not good. Could
Yeah,
you
like
tell
a
somebody in your house that might be in there to turn off their Wi-Fi and stop using streaming, whatever they're doing? You're all
me.
choppy. Yeah, you're getting all choppy.
I'm not choppy. I'm perfect. At least on my
You're,
screen.
you're choppy.
I think you're choppy.
Yeah, yeah. Come over here and say that. You think
Don't
I'm
be
choppy? I think you're
don't be a
choppy.
schmo, bud.
Don't be a schmo. Okay, so as we continue on, we will continue on. So we're gonna tell you to know what you want, plan your time, and pay your workshop in advance. Expect the unexpected. like I said, you could walk into a show and think, I'm going to meet a few people or sell some art, and somebody can come up and change your life for the better or the worse. You just don't know. And I think the key thing is that being prepared. And look at this. Everybody's on the one's on the choppy schmo, and then Ruth is telling me that schmo is Yiddish and it
Schmo.
means stupid person.
Yeah, don't be a
By the
schmo.
way, Ruth runs a trivia show, which you can see immediately after hours. We'll show you once again, since
Calm
people
Nation.
were Calm Nation. She will be on immediately following our show at 9 p.m. on Calm Nation on the YouTubes. On the YouTubes. So she puts on a heck of a show.
And she drinks coffee and knows things.
She drinks coffee and knows things.
Apparently,
Anyway,
coffee makes you live longer.
it does. It
That's what
does.
I
I've
heard.
heard that as well.
Huh.
Unless you get run over by a car crossing the street to buy a coffee.
That's true.
How is schmo spelt? I don't know.
I think
See
just like
that?
that.
It's just like
Schmo.
that.
Schmo.
Is schmo the cousin to schmuck? Schmuck is
Yes,
a
very
not nice
close
word,
cousin.
right? Isn't it?
Schmuck. Yeah, you don't want to be a schmuck. You could be a schmo, but you don't want to be a schmuck.
All right. So this is only tangentially related to comics, boys and girls. Anyway, so expect the unexpected. I'll give you a good example. So at the end of what was it? 2019, 18? I don't
Yes.
even remember what
Perfect.
time. 19. COVID-19 was coming out, and I met Aaron Denali, and Aaron and I bumped into each other. We started having a conversation. It led to talking about making a comic, an 8-page comic. It led to the anthology. It went to many awards. It led to this channel, literally this channel. So sometimes you just have to go with where you want to be. And part of what I had said in my number one, which was, know what you want. And I knew what I wanted, and the opportunity presented itself unexpectedly. And I let the opportunity just go. And I went along, and is a contemptible person. Oh, did she look that up in the dictionary?
I think she knows things.
I think you're going to have to Google contemptible now.
And she drinks coffee.
And she drinks coffee. But for me, Mike, I knew where I wanted to be with comic book school. I knew what I wanted to be doing, and I certainly knew that this was the right thing for me. And I'll just bring this back because I think the number one is really important. Know what you want is an important aspect. If you're going to a con to make money, you need a plan for making money. Are you going to just try and sell books? Are you selling original art? Are you selling prints? And then knowing what you're doing to make money, less your expenses, will help you to understand if you are indeed making money. I was not intent on making money at Comic-Con. I was just, I was just happy to be there doing my panels and see where I could take comic book school. And as creators, people really have to have a set vision for what they want to accomplish. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to send you a research on it. Oh, and it's Erin's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's right. That's right. Happy birthday. I just spoke with her just prior to this, and I know she's in the car right now, so she will have to see these birthday wishes later. Later, boys and girls. Okay, so you ready for the last tip, Mike?
Yes.
I'm ready for the last
tip.
Do it.
Okay. Make it a big one.
Schedule follow-ups. You know how I feel about follow-ups.
I do.
I think follow-up skills are probably among the most important skills that you can nurture. Being a professional, following up after a meeting. Mike, you take meetings all the time, and you have an agent and a manager, and part of their responsibility is facilitating follow-up. How important is follow-up? I'm sure you've been pitched many times from prospective creators, animators, writers. How important is follow-up, and why?
Yeah, you have to follow up. I mean, because they get so many pitches and calls and everything per day that you're just one of the many. So if you don't follow up and say, hey, just checking back in, seeing what's going on. Did you read the stuff yet? Have you looked at the artwork? So you need to follow up to keep yourself on their radar, because otherwise you will just literally fall off and they will never get back to you.
Exactly. And I'm going to provide a link here, which I will share. And now I'm going to share the screen at the same time. Um, with Comic Book School, we have, you and I did an episode where we talked about how to follow up and how to
Mhm.
write a follow up email. And it's an extremely important skill. And in this particular article, which you can find at comicbookschool.com, you can also find it on our YouTube channel. You will be able to see the right way to set a follow up. But what I'm suggesting, Mike, is that people um, after about a week of being home, they put on their Google Calendar. It's time to follow up with the following people, right? You walk around with your little notebook, you take your notes of all the people that you met. When you get a business card, you write on the back of the business card what you talked about. You put it in your notebook and you take a picture of it with your phone so that if you lose any of those things, which is very common, you now know what your follow-up strategy is. You can't have your follow-up strategy fall apart because you lost your little notebook,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that, and Ruth's right, following up shows that you have good time management skills. And I think the key thing that people forget is that, comics, while fun, for the majority of the people that you're going to meet, editors and the like, this is a full-time job, right? And
Business.
they
Yep.
want to know that you're going to be professional.
Very true.
That was it. You just get, Ruth gives me following up shows
I
that you have
keep
good
sorry,
time
I keep
management.
looking at the comments.
Yeah, don't worry, I got the comments. In a minute, I'll run the intro again. So, so I go back to this, and I want to just show you something because I think it's kind of important. This is me
Yeah.
at the table, right? This is
Uh-huh.
me at the table. I don't like being at the table,
Hate
and
the table.
I don't like being at the table. So I'm constantly disappointed, but not really surprised when I don't make any money at the shows.
You're
I'm not surprised.
you're a people
But
person.
I'm a people person. I like being a people person. I like going to talk to other creators and publishers and other fans and fans of my work. And sometimes I go and I'm a fan of somebody else's work in Artist Alley. I think for me, the event is the event. And sometimes I feel like, there are artists who are, they want to make some money. So they're doing head sketches all weekend and they're doing art and customs and whatnot. And they look up and the weekend's over.
Mhm.
And they realized, okay, I made some money, after they count their table money and they count this money, they realize, oh, I made $500. And I had my head down the whole convention. And that's not, really a good, uh, oh, look at that. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. That's right, Vince. And that's why Mike and I make a good first impression.
As always.
Gilbert, I always love going into my. Gilbert, thank you, Gilbert. We send a little. How do I do that, Mike?
Little heart. It's at the
How do you do that? Is it like this?
it's
Thank
like
you,
this.
Gilbert.
There we go.
Thank you, Gilbert. And I'm not sure what this one word thing, socialist, is all about. Marianne, are we in the same video together? I'm not even sure.
That was a trivia question.
Oh, that was a trivia question. But sometimes, Mike, people will underestimate the cost of a convention, and I just want to talk about that for a second because you go to an event like New York Comic Con, tables are expensive. Now, some people will say, "Oh, I spent $300 a day for 3 days, and it cost me $1,000 4 days. Now it cost me $1,000 or $1,200 a table, right?" It didn't. It cost you $1,200 plus tax. It cost you a hotel room. Now, some people will count food. I don't believe that because it's not like, oh well, I wasn't going to eat that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday anyway, right? Like you gotta be reasonable. You gotta kind of like just be easy on yourself. But I think if your goal is only to make money, sometimes you're going to find yourself disappointed. There's 3,000 people in Artist Alley alone, and the event is this 100,000 plus people. There's a finite amount of money and time. So I think knowing what you want, if you want to be an artist and you want to break out, I think the key thing is for you to look up once in a while. If you're a writer and you want to break in, you need to know where to go to talk to people, where to leave that first impression. And I think we'll go back to Vince. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And then, of course, Glenn's comment was like that kid on the escalator, that first impression I'll remember. Glenn's scarred for life from that, right? He's scarred for life. He'll never forget it. But Mike, I think it's very important for people to think about what they want to accomplish. Don't you think?
I definitely think so. Yeah, you have to go in knowing exactly what you want because, like you said, if you're an artist and you just sit down there and draw the whole weekend, you haven't made any connections, you haven't gone to see anybody that can actually help you,
Yeah.
expand your artwork. Maybe get out
Expand
there.
your
Maybe you can make a lot more money being a comic book artist instead of sitting and
So one
drawing
of the
stuff.
earliest articles that I wrote for comic book school this year, and I hope people go back to this. I'll copy and paste this and put this into the chat. It was about setting goals, and I think what people fail to do, Mike, is set a goal for what they believe they want to accomplish. And I wrote this at the beginning of the school year of the calendar year. And Aaron whipped up a quick header for me. But I broke down 10 goals for comic creators planning the year. We're officially at the midpoint of the year. And
Mm,
I think it's good to go back. As I opened this up, I started reviewing my own goals here. These are my goals. And, did I accomplish all of them? No, but I'm at the midpoint of the year. And I think it's very important for people to uh, go and figure out what they need to do to be a better comic book creator. And I would encourage people to think about their goals. If they haven't written their beginning of the year goals, it's still not too late. So I'll put this right in here to write down your goals. Hold on, let me see. That work? Yeah, that came through as a chat. But then extend those goals to conventions. Like, what will going to a comic book convention, a live event, do to facilitate your goals? If it doesn't do anything to facilitate your goals, you might want to rethink why you're even going. Like, if you're just going to shop, you know,
not worth it to shop.
it's not worth it. It's too expensive. If you're just going to, if you're going to go to panels, maybe educational panels, networking, if those goals are important to you, maybe you only need a 1 day pass or a 2 day pass, whatever it is, but really focus on how comic book conventions and setting your goals will lead to you reaching your goal. And then, certainly, last but not least, Mike, I would say that it's really important for people to be aware of what publishers are publishing and what the submission guidelines are. So I've been updating this now steadily for, I think, like 7 or 8 years. And I try to update it about once a month or so. So I'm coming to an update. But you'll see, like, I keep all the publisher submission guidelines, all the cross links. So, and I break it out by larger publishers and then just indie publishers. And the thing about this is, you can get a look at what they're looking for. Sometimes we've had interviews with some of the creators, so I've cross-linked the YouTube channels to them. And I think it would be helpful for people if they were preparing to go to either New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con or even a regional show. I went to Toronto just before the pandemic, and it was a fantastic show. But like, going to these and then getting this information ahead of time will save you from going and wasting your time with a publisher that's not looking for material from somebody that, for whatever you have, they're not looking for it.
That is a very impressive list you put together. I'm impressed by that. You are not a schmuck or a schmo, bud. That's good.
That doesn't make me not a schmuck or a schmo. It just makes me a good list maker.
That's good stuff. Like, I love that stuff that you took the time to list all the stuff for the submission people, because a lot of times, they got to look it up themselves. Now it's all right in one spot.
It's a one spot. All right, so Mike, those are the 10 tips. You want to just take us through it with a quick voiceover? You go through the list one time, Mike.
Number 1, know what you want. You want me to explain it, or you want me to just
Yeah,
say
why
it?
don't you explain it? I don't need you to read it.
Well,
I
some
want you to
people
give me your spin on it.
know what you want. You have to go and know what you want. Like, if you want to go to be an artist, if you want to go to be a writer, you got to know exactly what you're doing there, not just show up willy-nilly. Number 2, plan your time and path. And that ties into number 1, know where you want. If you want to go to if you want to go to comic book school, you got to know exactly where it is, what you're going to do when you get there, and then plan the rest of your trip around that. Because if that's the most important thing, you got to get there first. 3, prepare your work. Don't be sloppy. Get your stuff all ready. If you need a portfolio, if you need the folders, if you need whatever else you need, if you're going to be at a table, as Buddy said, get the banners, get the tablecloths in front, get everything ready. Don't just be rushing around at the last minute, like packing your stuff. You don't need to do that at the last minute. Shop in advance. You got to have all your stuff ready. Again, that's prepare your work. Get everything ready. Whatever you need, write it down, go get it, have it ready for yourself. And then expect the unexpected. Tie back into number 1. If you know what you want, then you can go and get to, whatever you need. But if something cool happens along the way, just go with it. Go with the flow. You could have put that one as go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
And number 6, schedule follow-ups. Very important. Everyone needs to have follow-ups. You talk to somebody, you write it down, you take a picture of it in case you lose your little notebook. And then within a week, you go back on comic book school and you read the email that was already prepared for you, changing, of course, to fit whatever the publisher is, and you send it out. Keep in touch with those contacts.
Mike, I have to tell you, did a really good job.
No, that was awful. This last one was okay.
That was good. That was good. And Miriam had a note about the publishers list. So, I think we covered it, Mike. I have. Do you have? What is it? Oh no. Oh, we have promos. So we have promo for Backer Paws. One of our good friends, Rob Anderson, who keeps an eye out for us here on the StreamYard channel, does a website that has a YouTube channel. It's called Backer Paws. And if you are interested in learning how to run better Kickstarters, Rob will tell you what makes people pause and look at your Kickstarter. So that's pretty good, right?
I get that. That's good. Backer Paws. Because they're
Backer
backers
paws.
and they're pausing.
Backers and pause. What makes them pause? And right. And then you recognize these guys, don't you?
I do. That is Hassan and Mike
Dolce. They do a very good show on Rogue Wave. They do a podcast every Wednesday. Very entertaining and highly recommended.
Good guys too.
That's right. So, Mike, do you have a check this out?
No, I don't.
You don't. Well, I've got a big one, and I'd like to note that we lost a great George Perez.
Yes.
So, George Perez was 67 years old, an amazingly prolific artist, and often did the projects that other creators did not want to do. George Perez loved to do big scenes, big events, lots and lots of characters. And this is a great representation, this early Teen Titan work, some of the best with Marv Wolfman writing. It still holds up. You can read these today, and they're still very entertaining. And it is part of the material, the fabric of DC Comics and all of the TV shows on Warner Brothers. And it's definitely worth checking out.
Yep, those were some good runs that he had on the Teen Titans. They're some of my favorites.
They were great. And I've always enjoyed these. Our friend Greg gave me this. It's one of the books.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. And a proud part of my collection. And it was great because I was able to. I actually got rid of the old issues. I gave them away, and now I replaced it with the omnibus. So, the omnibus. So yeah, I agree. He was one of the greatest of all time, Vince, and he will be missed. So in rapid succession, we lost Neil Adams and George Perez in a short amount of time. Don't mean to end on a downer, but they did make comic books a better place and a reason to celebrate. And another reason to celebrate, Mike, is next week we're going to be having a special show with not one, not two, but 3 guests.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot. It's going to be a lot to juggle, and I think I don't know if I can do it, but
Oh, I think you can.
I'm
You're always
hoping that
prepared.
I'm not a schmuck
That's right, or a schmo.
or a schmo. So, Mike, for everybody from Comic Book School, thanks everybody for joining. Mike, I'm going to punch you to the back room, and we'll catch up. Everybody say goodbye to Mike. So, guys, listen, as the conventions get closer, I think it's really important for you to think about what's important to you. If you are an artist, there will always be somebody pitching you the idea of doing art for them for exposure. Maybe it's the right thing, maybe it's not the right thing. Writers, you're going to constantly be frustrated that where are the editors? Well, they used to show up, now they don't really show up anymore. And I think one of the key things that you have to recognize is that the nature of comics publishing has changed. When I started off, there was a pathway, there was the majors, and then there was a couple small indies. Now that's all changed. So much more of this is in your hands. Just decide what you want to do, what you're willing to put at risk for it, and then how you want to move forward with your publishing and comic book publishing career. We'll be here every week. We want to know how you're doing. Please let us know. And then just a moment of silence for one of the greatest of all time, George Perez. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.